And tonight on the Daily Wrap, the global economy in a panic after stock markets around the world plunge into the red. Will things get better, or should we prepare for a crash? We'll talk to managing partner at Chapwood Capital, Ed Butowski, about that. And is Donald Trump our economic savior? Plus, there are reports Hillary Clinton might have a second server after all. Is it true? This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, along with my co-host, Rick Unger.
Anything interesting happened today?
Not a thing besides the 21st century version of Black Monday.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting a little overwrought, if you ask me, but we'll talk about that here.
You do write for Forbes, so...
I do, and
know what you speak.
I think panic is a bit of an overstatement.
Interesting. Okay, well, to the man who says to stay calm, to his right, she is a Philly attorney and America's pundit, and apparently has no stock in Apple because she's just smiling right now. Heather Hansen is back. And finally, Forbes.com columnist and an Emmy winner, Bill Tucker, who knows a little about finance as well. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, let's get right to the Daily Download. And today was a crazy day for world stock markets and your 401k. China had an 8% drop in their stock market, which led to the markets around the world, including the New York Stock Exchange, being down 1,000 points at the start of trading today. The market did regain strength, though, but still ended up over 575 points. Some alarmists, like former financial advisor to British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, that's Damien McBride, tweeted today about how to prepare for a possible stock market crash in the near future. Okay, get your pens ready. Number one, get hard cash in a safe place now. Don't assume banks and cash points will be open or bank cards will work. Hello, Greece. Number two, do you have enough bottled water? I know I do. Goods and other essentials at home to live a month indoors. Better get Netflix going as well. If not, get shopping. And number three, agree a rally point with your loved ones in case transport and communication gets cut off. Someone you can all head to. Wow, somewhere I should say. Fascinating. In the past week, the market is down over 7%, while for the year, we're down close to 10%. Is the market having a natural correction or something bigger going on here? We're now joined by the aforementioned Ed Butowski, managing partner at Chapwood Capital Investment Management. Ed, welcome to the show. How worried should our viewers be right now?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and your viewers should not be worried at all. I mean, what's happening now, and I heard Rick say something about a panic. There is no panic going on.
Now, Rick said there wasn't a panic.
Right, there was not a panic, and there is no panic going on. I agree with you, Rick, which is really rare. But 98% of the volume on the stock exchange are not individuals. They're computer-based selling programs. And I've been in this world, and I'm in this world. I've been doing it for 27 years, and what they do is, after a while, fundamental analysis, where they look at earnings and things like that, are kicked aside, and all they're doing is looking at these chart patterns. And I can tell you day after day exactly where they're going to try to hit resistance and support levels. And the point is that these are all being whipsawed by computers. Individuals are not panicking. They should not panic. However, the world is a mess. The world
Don't
is
panic,
a mess.
but the world is a mess?
The world's always a mess.
Don't panic, the world is a mess. But their stock market right now, stocks are about 20% undervalued right now based on expected earnings. Now, those expected earnings could come back quite a bit, meaning that they could ratchet those numbers lower. But at this very moment, stocks are not expensive. They're very inexpensive right now.
So, Ed, how does this differ from 2008 and the crash that happened there? What are the factors that you're seeing that make this an apples and oranges comparison?
Well, there you had the liquidity markets dry up. Here, there really hasn't been anything except a fear of China, falling and failing, which is a very real thing. But you had the liquidity markets dry up there. That was a very serious event, as we all know, and that was brought on by something very real. There hasn't been anything real here other than China's missing their numbers. Now, the world is slowing, and that's a big problem. But nobody should be going crazy over this.
Hey, Ed, it's Rick. This is a momentous day. You and I will usually fight over what time it is, and we completely agree on this. You have got it so right. What amazes me is, if you went on Twitter first thing this morning when the numbers were down below 1,000, people were, I mean, they were blaming Obama. They were going crazy, this and that, and they didn't seem to want to accept, folks, these are computers. They are programmed to behave in a certain way in light of certain events. And we saw those events unfold over the last 24 hours. Do you think that we've gotten the sell out of the algorithms now, or do you think there's more to go?
I think there's some more, because what ends up happening, and you saw today at the end of the day, mutual fund managers have to raise cash based on their redemptions throughout the day. So you'll probably see a little bit more of it. But I would say maybe one day left, and then you'll start to, you're not going to see a rapid move back up because there is nothing good going on. But you just have these people making a lot of money, these computer trading programs, hedge funds, and others, which, guess what? They can do that, and it's a free world, and they can. There's no reason they can't do that. But as an investor, if you have cash, look to buy some utilities. Look to buy, certain investments that have good dividends.
From your point of view, we're already at a buying opportunity.
Yeah. I started buying a little bit today. I actually bought some stock in my own account, which I rarely buy individual stocks in my own account, and I felt very comfortable doing so. So anyone, everyone and anybody, don't think the world's coming to an end. It's not. At the same time, you have some cash buy. If you don't have cash, just take a deep breath and go, watch the rest of the show and relax.
All right, Ed, this is Bill Tucker. You hit on the point that I wanted to ask you about. For the people that aren't panicked, for the people who are trying to calm down, where are you going?
Right.
Where in this market do you go? I know you can't go to commodities. You go to cash or where?
No, go to utilities. The best safe haven right now are going to be utilities, because commodity prices are what fuel utilities around the country. They're insulated from geopolitical events, and the commodity prices are cheap. So go buy XLU, which is an exchange-traded fund. That's probably the best thing to do. It's a utility exchange-traded fund, and I would be plowing a lot of money into that, probably picking up 5.5% income. And that's where you put your money right now. If
you got a tolerance for risk, do you want to look at maybe some of the short funds still, if you think there's this kind of volatility left in the market?
No, don't do it. It's a sucker's game. Stay away from it.
Okay. Ed Butowski, the voice of reason, much like Kevin Bacon in Animal House. Stay calm, all is well. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it, from Addison, Texas.
See you, Ed.
All right. He's a busy man today, I'm sure.
I was very pleased to hear what he had to say. I really was.
What were you hearing in terms of media today? Because I heard some panic that didn't seem to be based in much.
You know what? I actually felt I was seeing the opposite. I had all the different channels on, which I do just because I get interested in how they cover it. And, the business channels that I have some confidence in, they weren't panicking.
Well, business channel is different from cable news.
Well, that's true. And they get to excite viewers by doing what this idiot who put those tweets up. I mean, come on, man. It's not. I don't know what he has to gain by scaring the hell out of people like that.
I love the whole thing about you have to have a meeting point with your family, right? Like three blocks down by that oak tree. Let's meet there.
Make sure the broker's there with us.
Right, exactly, because stocks are falling. Yeah. But what he gets attention. I do think that there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Greece, if you look at oil prices, I think that we're just going to see some ups and downs in the next couple
What else is new?
Yeah.
Okay, but China losing 8%, and we have so much money, or we owe them so much money. I mean, should we not be somewhat concerned here?
About that? No.
Not really.
No, not because they're a creditor. No.
Okay.
No, they're not. It's not like suddenly they're going to call their loans. It doesn't work that way. The reason there's
what
concern.
If they go into a recession?
There's reason if there's concern because of China as a customer. But what we saw today with Apple is Cook literally sent out an email saying, folks, chill out. Our business in China is just fine.
Right. Yeah.
So, everybody overreacts, but mostly it was the computers reacting. It wasn't the average, everyday, or even intelligent, sophisticated investor reacting. It's the computers reacting.
I don't even disagree with you on that. The computers, though, exacerbate the uncertainty and the nervousness in the market. And people have been very nervous in this market.
Sure.
So when you get a combination of worry about what the Fed is going to do, and you get uncertainty about what's going on in China, and the nervousness about China is because they buy our debt. They finance our lifestyle.
Does this postpone interest rates being raised?
I don't know. personally, I think it does. Rick and I have a big disagreement over
I
this.
think it does.
We'll get into another segment maybe, but we have a disagreement. I think we should continue to raise rates, but others don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Boy, I would have liked to have heard that argument now. That would have been oh well.
Too late.
Plenty of time for arguments.
Yes, that's true. When you get to sit in the middle of it, that's the best part. How concerned are you about the markets? Are you going to get a meeting point and, water and all that stuff? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Up next, Donald Trump. Stay tuned.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Another week, another bump in the polls for GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. According to the latest Reuters online survey out today, Trump now has the support of 32% of Republicans. That's up from last week's 24%. It seems like every time a politician or a pundit tries to put a ceiling on Trump's support level, that person turns out to be wrong. So, Joe, considering that Trump's hitting the 30% mark in a field of 17 candidates, which is really nothing short of extraordinary, is there a ceiling on Trump's potential? And is he quickly reaching it if there is?
I'm not answering that question anymore. Yeah. But our ceiling has been at 12%, 15%, 20%, 25%, 30%. It keeps going up.
It's absolutely true.
The diversity, Rick, is what's amazing. He's up 23-13 over Cruz among Tea Party. He's up 22-16 over Bush among moderates.
Right.
He's up 21-12 over Huckabee among evangelicals. He is going across the board with his appeal. And the only conclusion I can come to is no one cares about the details of what he's saying too much.
Clearly.
They are strictly in love with the attitude.
They like the hat.
That's everything.
They like the hat.
You know what? It's more than the attitude in the hat. Well, I was on vacation. I read a book by Michael Jordan's coach, and he talked about having the guts to make a decision.
College, high school,
Tim
Phil
somebody.
Jackson.
It's called Relentless. It's not like his personal coach. The guy who brought him to where he was. And one of the things that he talked about is having the guts to make a decision and go with it. Today, when the markets are going crazy, the only people who are candidates who tweeted about it were Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump.
Right.
Whether they're right or wrong, they're speaking to the issues. They're not afraid. They're not pussyfooting around. They're coming out and saying something, and the public wants that. I think that's a big part of it.
Doesn't Heather have a point there? I mean, everybody else seems to have to talk to their consultants, their pollsters, and these two guys, Trump and Bernie, they just get online and tell you what they think.
Well, number one, we've been saying that for a while here on this show. And number two, I was just going to say, you know what? Bernie and Trump have a lot in common in this regard. And what shocks me is not the rise of Trump's levels, is that Bernie's not getting a bigger push. I would expect Sanders to start to, but he still trails Hillary by a long ways. I'm surprised he's not challenging her more, because he does exactly what Heather said. Both of these guys come out and say, whether you like it or not, this is it.
So Heather, in a political campaign, we all know timing is everything. Is Trump not running the risk now of peaking way too soon?
Absolutely. And again, we get back to policies. Today in one of the interviews, he was asked about a flat tax. And first he said he liked it. Then he described that he would really prefer a progressive tax. Right.
So that's clear. What actually happened was he said he liked a flat tax, but then he said, but I think the rich should pay a higher percentage of.
There should be some
and that's completely inconsistent. That's not what a flat tax is.
And that's the problem. With policies, he has got to have some, and he's got to stick with them and not just kind of go with what people like as opposed to what he actually stands for.
Joe, I mean, look, you know how political campaigns go. It's when you get there that matters. And, I suppose Trump could go to over 50%, meaning he'd have it wrapped up if the election were on that day. Isn't there a pretty good chance here that it happening so early could be devastating for him in the long run?
It's funny, his speech in Mobile, he said, I want to have the election tomorrow. I don't want to wait. There's a reason for that.
That's right.
He's at the quarter pole, and he's lapping the field already.
That's right.
So can he peak? Here's my problem. I don't know who then takes the mantle. Who's going to catch fire and really become the guy who challenges him? Everybody else, besides Jeb Bush, who he's doubling in that poll, everybody else is 25 points behind. It might be too much to overcome.
So while some believe that Donald Trump is the right guy to confront the problems presented by China being what we all think caused our trouble today, the editor of futureofcapitalism.com, his name is Ira Stoll, seems to believe that Mr. Trump is responsible for the problems that we had today.
For my part, I blame Donald Trump. Mr. Trump's policies are the opposite of the pro-growth approach, and he takes aim at your immigration, your trade, and your taxes.
Wow, that's amazing. He blames me. I'm the one that's telling everybody what's going wrong and what's going to go wrong. And frankly, I'm the one that says you better start uncoupling from China, because China's got problems, and they have big problems, and they're bringing us down. So For this guy, I never heard of him. I have no idea who he is, and he's probably not very good at what he does. But to blame me is incredible because I'm the one that says uncouple.
Well, to be fair, Trump has indeed been saying uncouple. He thinks there needs to be more of a split between the Asian markets and the United States markets. Does his understanding of the fact that when China catches a cold, the rest of the world can come down with the flu suggest that maybe he is the right man to lead the nation for the next few years, Bill?
Well, because he makes a sentient observation doesn't mean he's got a solution to that problem. Right. I mean, it's one thing to say we need to uncouple from them. It's another thing to look at the reality of the fact they're the number 2 borrower of our debt behind Japan. How do we get out of that arrangement with Asia? When he gives I love listening to the guy, and he's as entertaining as it gets. But until he starts putting some solutions on the table, he hasn't gotten me yet. Well,
that's what he says. I'm the guy who's telling everybody what's wrong. Yes, he is. But now how do you fix it? Right. And that's where he does, for me, he's lacking. I'd like him to come forward and say, yes, uncouple, and this is how to do it. I think really, Carly is the only person who tends to do that.
Well, but what you look at me for?
Because you know I love him.
I'm going to look at you because I have to ask the question, is there anything even remotely realistic about the idea of uncoupling the world markets in today's day and age? It strikes me as ridiculous to even conceive of it. We saw it today. What happens? China catches a cold, in this case a bad cold, and we all get the flu all over the world. Why would Trump think he could change that situation?
Because that's part of his bravado, that he could take on China and Mexico and Japan and bring all the jobs back. That's just part of the platform. Again, it's about attitude and confidence. He doesn't even need details right now. Will he at one point? I think so.
Well, I hope so, and that's what I find so frightening about all this.
What do you think of Carl Icahn joining his campaign?
Don't even go there with me.
Really?
But we're 422 days out, is that right? 422 days out. And they say that polling in 300 days out has no influence whatsoever. It's really the economy and whether or not we're at war. So we'll see what happens with the economy in that time left.
But he's no Giuliani, and he's no Bachman, and he's no Kane. I think there's a lot more staying power because he's far more entertaining.
Absolutely. All right, guys, here's the question for everybody watching. Can Donald Trump help the global economy, or is he the problem, as that editor said? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up next, does Hillary Clinton have a second email server? Stay tuned.
And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Let's check in with the insatiable Steve Malzberg and see what he has planned for the evening. Stevie.
All right, Joe, coming up, exclusive interview with Ben Carson. He will talk about Donald Trump. Will he be Donald's VP? Will Donald be his VP? And he has something to say about CNN as well. Then Larry Kudlow will be here to help make sense of the market fluctuation and the big sell-off today. Also, Roger Stone, the Malzberg panel. It's all next, 7 p.m. Eastern, right after the Daily Wrap.
All right, we will stick around for that. There are reports that Hillary Clinton might have a second email server. As you know, the first server was handed over to the FBI by the Clinton campaign, he said, after it was wiped clean by a cloth not quite known. Now, with the possibility of a second server, perhaps there is a chance the DOJ and the FBI can recover some of the information the Clintons didn't want America and the world to see. We're now joined by Washington Examiner reporter, that's Sarah Westwood. She's in Washington, D.C., who has been covering this story. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, tell us what we currently know in this ongoing saga.
Well, we know that there's potentially a second server because the Clinton campaign and the company that managed Hillary Clinton's emails have given conflicting dates as to when the data was moved off that server. The Denver-based company that managed Hillary Clinton's emails since 2013 say they migrated all the data off that server in June of that year. And so the question is, well, where did that data go 2 years ago?
I'm a little confused, Sarah. I just because I don't really understand. Is there another date that somebody said when it was taken off the server, or?
Yep. Right. Hillary Clinton said that she erased all the data in January of this year. So,
oh, okay.
Right. So that it was potentially duplicated. It was in perhaps 2 places before that.
Sarah, what do you make of the argument that we hear from Clinton surrogates that are on the Sunday shows, as I saw again this weekend, that say, well, Colin Powell had a private email and Condi Rice had a private email, so what makes this different from Hillary Clinton? And the obvious answer is they didn't have servers in their homes and then eventually in bathrooms in Denver. And I'm just surprised that they continue to go with that particular defense, because it seems, if the numbers are any indication, nobody's buying it.
Exactly. They occasionally used personal emails for government business when they shouldn't have. That's something that a lot of Americans can probably relate to. Nobody else ever set up a server in their house to host all of their government communications away from the public eye. I mean, that's just unprecedented. There were no rules against it because the government had never even imagined that was even a possibility before this happened.
Sarah, it's Rick Unger. I kind of want to go back to this 2 email server thing. Is the only evidence we have is discrepancies in those descriptions you're pointing out, or is there anything else other than, I mean, I don't know, my first thought wouldn't be 2 servers. My first thought would be the right hand and the left hand are saying different things. It could be 2 servers, it could be more, but I'm wondering if there's any other evidence to back that up than just some mistakes or different points of view of what people said.
Well, right, we don't know whether or not there are 2 servers. We just know that the data was migrated in 2013, and we don't know where it was migrated to. If it was migrated to another server and then Hillary Clinton kept the emails on the one the FBI now has, she could have had them in 2 places and only erased one, and then everyone here would be telling the truth. No one would be lying. So we really just don't know until, you know, the FBI does a little bit more digging here.
Yeah, Sarah, this is Bill Tucker. This is a difficult story because there's a lot of potentials and maybes and possibles in it. But at some point, one would assume that these emails from Mrs. Clinton were backed up somewhere. Could the confusion here be that the second server is basically the cloud, the backup server for her emails? Is that a possibility?
Right. I mean, there are many number of possibilities of where the emails could possibly be. It's just a problem because we now know that those emails contain classified information all the way up to top secret. So it's no longer just a matter of, you know, curiosity of where the emails are. It's a matter of potentially national security, because we know that that classified information needs to be stored in a secure environment.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah Westwood, Washington Examiner, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it from Washington today.
Thank you.
Okay. One other point I want to bring up, and I want to go to you on this, Hanson. The State Department seems to really be stonewalling here on, well, we're getting around to getting you the rest of those emails, and it's as if Mrs. Clinton still works there, except she doesn't. And no one really talks about the fact that the State Department hasn't exactly been forthcoming.
Well, judges are talking about it. I mean, you know, we've talked about this months ago, and I've always said that the legal system is going to force this to a close. You know, the judges are not happy with the State Department, and it's true. They are stonewalling the same way that Mrs. Clinton is.
But aren't you a little uncomfortable with this leap? I mean, normally if you find a discrepancy like that, and that's good reporting if she did, you go and you say, guys, how do you explain this discrepancy? Before you make the leap to the fact, hey, there might be a second server out there. That's kind of really blowing it up, isn't it?
She's not answering those questions. I mean, sure.
No, but she hasn't asked those questions.
But who's going to answer them? Is Hillary Clinton going to answer them? She doesn't answer a single
that's not how
That
is not how reporting works. If you ask the questions they don't answer, you report they didn't answer. But she hasn't asked them.
So, let's ask you, did Hillary Clinton break the law? Let us know at newsmaxpolls.com. Coming up, did Joe Biden pick his running mate? We've got that next.
Are you ready to prove to another generation of Americans that we can build a better country and a newer world? Joe Biden is ready. I'm ready. You're ready. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. So we may have taken a little creative liberty with that clip of Elizabeth Warren's speech from the 2012 Democratic National Convention. She had Obama in there before Joe Biden. But it might not be that far from reality. Speculation over a possible bid by Joe Biden hit an all-time peak over the weekend as the vice president returned to the nation's capital from his home in Delaware to meet with Senator Elizabeth Warren on Saturday. Now, CNN is reporting that during their 2-hour meeting, the pair discussed the economy, not a possible presidential campaign. An explanation that is satisfying to absolutely no one. Ms. Warren, a favorite senator among progressive Democrats, with many urging her to run for the presidency earlier this year, has vehemently stated she has no desire to run for president. but then she's never said anything about running as a vice presidential candidate. So, are we getting ahead of ourselves discussing a Biden-Warren ticket in 2016? Or, Joe, is this something that you think could happen?
It cannot happen.
I agree. Tell us why.
I'll tell you why. And we didn't rehearse this
No,
or
we
anything. I have
didn't.
no idea what you're going to say. Here's what I know. In today's Democratic Party, Joe Biden is considered a centrist because I think the party has drifted way left. And Mr. Biden gets along well with Republicans, and outside of universal health care, I see Biden very much as a centrist. Elizabeth Warren ain't no centrist. She's to the left of Barack Obama. So that ticket, while it would shore up the left, I guess, and it would be two big names that would be together, I don't see Biden choosing Warren as his running mate for that reason, because she's so polarizing.
Well, Heather, great minds obviously think alike, because that very much sums up what I would say.
Look at that.
And you, what do you think?
Listen, I think that you guys are probably right, although there's an argument to be made that Joe has shifted left, Biden has shifted left being vice president to Barack Obama, who also I think has shifted the party left, and that therefore he's willing to get Elizabeth Warren's votes. Women would be a big draw for him, because he's not, and so maybe that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, no, I think it's like a Frankenstein monster is what you got. You've got Biden, and he is somewhat of a centrist, and so there would be an effort to try and bring the moderates back into this whole deal, because the competition in the Democratic Party right now is for the far, far left. And what I don't understand for the life of me is why Bernie Sanders keeps getting overlooked in all of these conversations.
Because nobody believes he can actually win.
Well, yeah, but look at his poll numbers, look at what he's doing, and they're willing to just shove him aside. It's fascinating to me that this guy has done that.
Were we to assume that CNN got this right, and that the two really were discussing economic policy, can we now expect that Biden will adopt the more progressive economic ideas belonging to Senator Warren? That includes raising the minimum wage to at least $22 an hour, cracking down on the too big to fail banks, and supporting the buffer rule. I mean, is this the direction that we can expect Joe Biden to head in, Bill?
I would love to see him crack down on the too big to fail. Listen, I'm with Sanders, with Warren, and all of that. Yeah, I can see Biden making some compromises and going, you know what, this too big to fail rule is absolutely insane. I think adopting a $22 an hour minimum wage is suicide. So I don't see him going there.
Well, listen, it's all about compromise, as Bill said. You know, she would have to compromise on some of the things, and he would have to compromise on some of them, and it may be very attractive to the Democrats to see two people sort of meet in the middle on the left.
So, Joe, does that mean that the progressive wing, look, people tend to forget about this. Everybody talks about the fights in the Republican Party. Well, there is a fight going on in the Democratic Party between the progressives and the more centrists. The centrists certainly being represented by the Clintonites, and we'll see about the progressives. Right now, it's certainly Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Are we seeing here that things are moving in the direction of the progressives when Joe Biden has to interrupt his weekend to come and have a conversation with Elizabeth Warren?
Absolutely, if that is a word. All I want to know is this.
Now.
Yes, it is now. Are they electable? Is a Biden-Warren ticket electable? I think so. I think it's more electable than a Hillary Clinton and X ticket right now, because I think Hillary Clinton is so damaged. I don't see how you have untrustworthy numbers over 60%. You say, oh, by the way, I want your vote. I just can't see that happen. What I do want, and I pray for, and this is for you, I want to see Warren as a VP nominee and Fiorina as a VP nominee, and let them go at it. Saucer of milk, table two.
Oh, geez.
I'll tell you what, I think people don't vote for the vice president. They really vote for the presidential candidate. I think it'd be taking a big risk. Look, I love Elizabeth Warren, but our audience does not. And I think that's a real issue. In any event, Biden Unger, what do you guys think about a possible Biden-Warren ticket? To tell us, you can go to newsmaxtv.com/comments to let us know. Then, coming up next, you know what time it is. We're reading some of your viewer comments. You don't want to go anywhere. This is the most fun part.
You really don't. And if you want to get your own Make America Great Again hat, just like the one Donald Trump wears, go to newsmax.com/TrumpCap or call 1-800-933-8396. Again, go to newsmax.com/TrumpCap or call 1-800-933-8396. And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Let's read some of your viewer comments. First up, we have a comment from Leon on our discussion on what grade we would give President Obama at this point of his presidency. And he says, Obama is not a president. He is a tyrannical socialist dictator, ignores the Constitution, failed to provide a legitimate birth certificate, pays millions to ensure his records are not made public. One of the worst we ever had. Try to follow that one, Unger.
I want to know one of the worst what's if he's not the president. Whatever. Ken says, great Obama in virtually every area, a big fat F across the board. Worst president in history. Our foreign policy is abysmal. Our allies no longer trust us, and our enemies no longer fear us. Economy teeters on the brink of imploding, and we cannot even secure our southern border.
I really thought that was going to go differently, given our audience. I thought there'd be some A's
Yeah,
there,
I thought they were going to
sprinkling
love
of
him,
B's,
right?
right? Incredible. I think
I'm not, what am I going to say?
Yeah. I mean, there was one comment that they actually gave him an H, like well below F, like
H?
all the way down to H, if that's possible. Yeah.
I like the first one that says he's not a president. Well, what is he exactly?
You know, my problem with that is that all of these people who say he's not our president, and believe me, there's in fact, I'm with Ken. I'd give him an F on most everything. But he got elected twice. So all these people who want to say he's not our president, you know, they need to go get a reality check and fix themselves. He got elected twice.
Might not be
and
a bad idea.
they got probably stayed home at the risk of ticking off some of our audience. Remember, he really stayed home because he didn't want to vote for Mitt Romney because he wasn't conservative enough for him, and put this guy back in the White House. So he's our president, whether anybody likes it or not.
What do you think of Bill's comments? Go to newsmax.com/comments and let us know.
All right, you got the next one.
Lockstep.
Oh, I'll be hurt.
Yes. All right, anyway, regarding the soldier being discharged for defending an Afghan boy and his mother from an Afghan officer, Jimmy says, quote, the Special Forces soldier being discharged because he had pushed an Afghan who had raped a young boy should be given a medal, he said, not discharged. Obama is totally destroying the military with this kind of nonsense. Oh yeah, the Fort Hood Muslim shooter was just workplace violence for exclamation points.
You know, it's funny because I agree with what he said at the beginning. I think the guy should be given a medal too.
I agree.
But if you know anything about how the military works, blaming it on Obama, if it makes you feel better, knock yourself out, but he's got nothing to do with it.
All right, you read next.
On Donald Trump running for president, Virginia says Donald Trump is going to be our next president. People actually smile whenever I bring his name up. And why? Because he actually tells the truth about what's going on in this country, and he is the only man who will save our country. I will do everything that I can to help him become our next president.
Send that girl a hat. Okay.
I bet she has one.
She probably has
I bet
one.
she does.
Let us know if you have one. All right, regarding birthright citizenship, Robert says, you folks have an entertaining show. Well, of course we do. Lots of laugh. Yes, we do. But anyone who's listened knows that Mark Levin on the topic of the 14th Amendment knows, Unger is close about it. That's my Levin invitation. I'm confident that this issue is not settled and there will be a change in the future, Unger.
Yeah, I got really bad news for that commenter. You know who took my side of the article? One of the most conservative attorneys in America, John Woo, who was the Bush attorney who wrote all of those memos on being allowed to torture people. So you know what? If you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, you just said that your #1 attorney doesn't know what he's talking about. There is disagreement on this, folks. You can pick your side, but if you're going to demean the other side, I'm not. I think Levin's argument's really interesting and it could work. But what amazes me is people can't seem to grasp that when you're talking about constitutional arguments and issues, there are going to be two sides. Just take it to court and find out what the court says. Okay, AC says there is no such thing as an automatic anchor baby. Read past the first sentence in the 14th Amendment. It does not bestow citizenship on anchor babies. The rest of the statement explains what the qualifications are. The legislature has the job of deciding who gets citizenship. I'm afraid that's not necessarily true. It can be true. It's another thing the court has to rule on. Can the Congress actually decide the definition of citizenship when it would be limiting rights as opposed to expanding?
And is it going to get to the Supreme Court?
That's
and
the question.
What Supreme Court will we have when it gets
Well,
there?
there you go.
Yeah,
and you know what makes me so crazy about that? I don't care if people disagree with the argument that I think is likely. It's not what I want or need. It's what I think would likely succeed. It's that you think you have to take a side and be angry and vehement about it. Folks, this is how American law works. It has since our very first day, and it's one of the great things about our country. We can disagree on interpreting the Constitution. It's why our founders created the judiciary.
And it's why, frankly, they build courthouses so that people can go in and have these arguments.
You don't have to yell and scream and call me an idiot. I'm not calling you an idiot.
Are you offended by the term anchor baby?
No.
I'm not either.
What's the alternative?
Heather?
Exactly.
That was the best ever. There was an ABC reporter who says, it's offensive, look it up in the dictionary. And Trump said, okay, give me another term that anybody's using, because that's all I've ever heard.
Jeb Bush said that.
Jeb Bush said the same thing. And then the guy says, it's the children of undocumented immigrants to this country. He goes, you want me to say all that? Yeah, guess what? I'm going to say anchor baby. I found myself cheering like, thank you. Good.
There are bigger issues.
Indeed. All right. Remember, if you want to weigh in on any of the issues we talk about on here, well, go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Yeah, right down there. And let us know what you think, as clearly we read them on the air. We keep our word. Up next, it's time for Yay or Nay. Happy time. This is Daily Wrap. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's time for Yay or Nay. First up, French President Francois Hollande, yes, never took French, awarded the Legion of Honor to 3 young Americans today after they helped stop a crazy gunman on a high-speed train Amsterdam to Paris last Friday. The gunman had 300 rounds of ammunition on him at the time, but denies planning any sort of terror attack. Oh, sure, everybody just carries that around with them. The Legion of Honor is France's highest award. Will they receive something comparable here in the U.S., yay or nay? Tucker.
I don't know. They should. Because once again, Americans came to this saving a bunch of French, just like we did in World War II. So
good point. Should. I don't think we're always as good as we should be about recognizing our heroes. So I would be surprised if they receive something from our government. But they should.
I agree they should. I don't know what the rules are. I think those guys are just plain flat out awesome.
Yeah. Well, one guy got stabbed in the neck, in the hand. This guy with 300 rounds of ammunition on a train. They're all sitting ducks. It's not like he could get out of there. This could have been a massive terror attack.
I love this thing where his lawyer's saying, "Oh no, he was just going to pull a robbery." In the meantime, the guy is on every known terrorist list in Europe, but he was just going to pull a robbery. These guys have got guts like I haven't seen. God bless.
Agreed. And the suspect, so to speak, he was in Syria this year. What was he there for spring break? No.
I think he was cleaning his guns. They have a special oil there.
Indeed. All right. Well, back in April, the city of Seattle raised its minimum wage to $15 an hour, and Unger cheered, sparking a complicated and much-needed wage debate in our country. Now that some time has passed, a few restaurants in the Seattle area are doing away with tipping in favor of higher prices all around, sometimes by more than 20%, calling it a service charge. But the price hikes aren't just in Seattle. Some eateries in San Francisco are including tips and taxes in their menu prices, and one restaurant in New York is tacking on an administrative fee, whatever the hell that is. Should American restaurants end tipping altogether and raise prices to support across-the-board minimum wage hike, yay or nay? Anga.
It's up to them. We don't tell them what to do with their prices. Sure we do. No, we don't. They can raise their prices, lower their prices,
do
what they want.
We offer advice all the time.
Oh, well, I'm not going to tell them what to do, especially in Seattle, where I actually did quite a bit of writing on it and exposed that all of this nonsense about people going out of business was just that. My favorite one, where they were saying this woman who has had these 2 restaurants was going out of business because of it. I talked to her. She says, no, I closed up one of those restaurants because I'm opening 3 more right now in another part of town. So she obviously wasn't that afraid of the increases. And you know what? So what if they add the tip onto the bill because they think people don't tip enough? They want it to be at 20%.
Here's the problem before you jump in. I'm going to tell my Spain story again. Every restaurant I went to there...
Wait, that's just because you didn't know.
What do you mean?
I know when I go to Europe that you don't tip over it.
Right, no, but the point is that there was no incentive for the waiters to give me good service because it was already built into the price.
Yeah, listen, I waitressed for that was my summer job for years and years and years. I would prefer the tip over the wage. Yeah, I was a good waitress, but I loved it, and I made a lot of money.
I was a waiter. I'm with Heather. I prefer the tip over the wage every time.
And you'll work harder as a result of it. Okay, well, not the last time we hear this story. Well, we finally have it. Yes, we do. The first Photoshop gaffe of the 2016 presidential campaign season. A super PAC supporting former Florida Governor Jeb Bush tweeted out their first mailer over the weekend, but something seemed a bit off. There's the governor smiling in front of a bridge in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Seems innocent enough, right? Can we take a closer look at the governor's Left hand, however. Whoa, somebody's been out in the sun a little bit too long. It's not using an SDF 30. That's not his hand. Now, to be fair, Jeb Bush and his campaign had nothing to do with this, but should whoever was in charge of sending that out be fired? Yay or nay, Hansen?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be detail-oriented when you're in this type of a job. And why the heck? It's an African-American hand is what it looks like.
I didn't know what that was.
And that's, he's getting a lot of backlash about that. I think that if you're working for one of these campaigns, you need to have some detail orientation.
Quickly fired, yay or nay?
Don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You no care or
no. I'm with the yay. I'm with Heather on this.
Okay. Finally tonight, here's an easy one for you all. Let's take a look at it. I think we have a picture. There we go. Made in Mexico, 100% wool.
Back up.
Yep.
So
Let's back up for a second. Yes.
Here's the Trump collection.
Yeah, you guys missed the most important part. It's part of the Trump collection.
Yeah, Donald J.
Donald J.
Trump collection. Okay, simple. Yay or nay?
Love it. I think it's I don't know if that's yay or nay, but it's cool.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. Make it in America if you want to be the.
Okay, very good. And that's all for tonight. I'm wearing a J. Crew suit, by the way. I'm Joe Concha on behalf of Rick Unger and the rest of our panel. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Steve Malzberg Show. That's next.